Hello, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Occupy Pro Wrestling Live, where we are here to talk about our reactions and the results for WWE Survivor Series 2020. I'm Alex Smiley, as always, here with my friends Chris at T-Bone is Live on the Twitch and James at JJ Titan Dog 70 on the Twitch. Before we get into our thoughts and feelings on everything that was Survivor Series, we're going to run down the results real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and take the lead on that. During the kickoff show, we had some interesting shenanigans with the 24/7 championship, though it wasn't technically a match. That ended up seeing the Gobbledygook make his return to pin R-Truth and win the 24/7 championship. And then later on in the kickoff show, we had The Miz winning the Interbrand Battle Royal. So that was the kickoff show. And
yeah, Miz.
Then we
disappointed me.
we kicked off the main show with the men's traditional Survivor Series match, in which we ended up seeing Team Raw pick up the victory with a clean sweep. So all 5 members of Team Raw ended up actually surviving that match. After that, we had Bobby Lashley defeating Sami Zayn. And I do want to give a shout out to Millennial_Madman for the follow. Thank you for that. Much appreciated.
Thanks, man.
After that champion versus champion match, we had the Street Profits taking on the New Day, and a clash between the tag team champions of SmackDown and Raw, respectively, with the Street Profits picking up the win there. After that, we had Asuka taking on Sasha Banks, but Sasha Banks ended up picking up a win for the SmackDown brand. And then, sorry, I lost a little track here. There we go. And then after that, we had the women's traditional Survivor Series match, in which Team Raw did end up winning that one as well. However, what ended up happening was that Lana was the sole survivor in one of the weirdest finishes ever, in which the last person, Bianca Belair being the last person on Team SmackDown, was counted out, and so was Nia Jax, who was the second to last person on Team Raw. It was really weird. We'll talk about it in a little bit. We'll talk about that in a little bit, though. And then in our main event in terms of matches, we had Drew McIntyre taking on Roman Reigns, and the Universal Champion Roman Reigns reigned supreme at the end of the night after some interference from Jey Uso, which was very interesting to see. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but we saw that end the night as far as in-ring action goes.
So Team Raw takes the victory 4-2.
Did they? Oh wow! See, after all that, especially after our talk on Thursday, Team Raw still ended up winning.
Yeah, Raw wins 4-2. And then what happens after is actually what I want to talk about first tonight. So if you don't mind, Alex.
Yeah.
Thanks for writing down the card.
No problem.
The reason I wanted to start with this, so what closed the show was the last kind of the final farewell of Undertaker, and I know for the two of you especially, this was pretty difficult to watch, or maybe not difficult to watch, but just kind of like a lot of emotions going through, and I really wanted to capture that for the start of our show.
Yeah.
Because the Undertaker was in WWE for 30 years, and you know he's one of the most important superstars, important wrestlers in wrestling history. I don't want to get in the conversation of who's the greatest all time or Mount Rushmores or anything like that, but there's no denying that Undertaker is one of the most important characters, one of the most important people to have ever, done the wrestling thing. And this was his final farewell, though I know we're going to see him in the future in some capacity. It doesn't seem like he's going to wrestle a match anymore, so his match at WrestleMania with AJ Styles was his last match. And I really wanted to give it to you, Alex, because I know this was something that really got to you. And I want to, we're a compassionate show here. We're wrestling fans first and foremost. I'm wearing glasses to hide some tears in my eyes. No. But the point is that this is important, and I really wanted to share this with our audience, how important, this is. So, Alex,
Yeah. So yeah.
the thing I know you didn't want to do, but I'm putting you on the spot to do it.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So this was something I touched on a little bit right before we actually went live. So for me, this segment especially hit kind of hard because my mom was a bit of an Undertaker fan, for about at least as long as I had actually been watching wrestling. I think she might have watched a little bit here and there, like before I even ever got into it. But like at least as long as I'd actually been watching it, she was at least familiar with who the Undertaker was. And for those of you who are new to like the community and stuff, and you don't know, my mom passed away a couple years ago, 3 years ago actually. Um, but it's just like, so there's like a lot of like, for me, there's a bit of emotional connection, like with watching the Undertaker's career, especially in the last, I want to say the last 10, 15 years or so. Just because, like I said, like my first WrestleMania was back in 2001, and at that point, like Undertaker was still very much the American Badass, though that was kind of like near the tail end of that before he was doing the big evil kind of gimmick and stuff. But like it was obviously like he was still very much the biker type Undertaker right up until 2004. But like I think like my mom in particular was always fascinated by kind of the return of the dead man Undertaker. So yeah, watching this last segment was a little emotional for me, and I think it didn't like as far as like what actually happened during the segment. I don't know if it helped that they had Paul Bearer's famous like oh yes, and the freaking hologram. Like there was a lot of emotional attachment to seeing that, but I think that worked for the segment as well. But like just from an emotional standpoint, I was like, okay, okay, now I get to fight back my tears a little bit before we go live for this show. So yeah, so that's kind of my thing, and that was and I realized that was something that like I was even thinking about like on Thursday when we talked about his career overall, but that was something that like I thought about a lot when thinking back on the Undertaker's career, especially with the WrestleMania matches and stuff. Like I don't like I don't think my mom actually got to see the match that he lost the streak in, and I don't think she saw the WrestleMania which like he lost to Roman Reigns. So like,
It's a good thing.
yeah, so it's just one, it's just one of those things to me at least. So it's just like, yeah, so that I don't ramble on too much. That's kind of like, that's where I'm kind of at with like seeing the Undertaker actually reach the end of his career in WWE. It's like you almost didn't expect to see them do the segment the way that they did it, you know? Like I was I think everyone I had talked to throughout the night was very much saying, "Hey, obviously this is going to set up for like a match or something at WrestleMania." I think we were just like literally up until the very last 2 minutes of the show, we were like, "Okay, so when is someone going to come out to challenge Undertaker to a match at WrestleMania?" But it didn't happen. The Undertaker laid his career to rest at Survivor Series tonight. And there's something about that by itself that's like that's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get all that emotional that segment. I did, hearing you talk about your mom. I think back to probably the last time that wrestling got me, and that was Ric Flair. His retirement on Raw. Um, we had Shawn Michaels' retirement as well. A couple of years later, because that was like, you know, there's my childhood. Crap, now an adult now.
Yeah.
Um, it's a little bit different now with Taker because I'm just an older adult than I was. You know, I don't know what to say. Like, we've been thinking about this for a couple of days, and we talked about it um, on Thursday, and us talking and talking with other fans. We wanted to see Undertaker kind of like. Personally, I wanted to see him stop wrestling for a couple of years, because especially towards the end when he was doing those matches in Saudi Arabia with Brock over and over again, even with it was just it didn't look like the Undertaker. And then we got that fantastic match thing with AJ Styles, and that kind of like brought him back a little bit. So we've kind of come to terms. I mean, at least for me, I've come to terms with him going away for for quite a while, because it wasn't like abrupt like it was like even with like Ric Flair, because he was still full-time wrestling when they forced him to retire, right?
Yeah.
So that felt like impactful, and Shawn Michaels, he was still a full-time wrestler when he was forced to retire as well. So it's a lot different, I think, with like the part-timers. Like I don't know if I'll have that same emotional reaction to The Rock retiring, because he's wrestled one match in 5 years, right? At this point, he hasn't been full-time in over a decade. Now Cena's gone. It's just weird,
Yeah. I feel like it's the first time we've actually seen a wrestler properly retire in a while, because we've had people just kind of disappear and like maybe announce some sort of retirement, but nothing to the extent of what we got tonight. That's for sure.
I mean, I guess what? Actually, think about Daniel Bryan.
Oh
his
yes, that's
retirement.
actually true. That's the closest thing. Well,
that's probably the
actually,
especially
yes.
like the kind of the emotional hit.
Oh,
because
you're
that
right.
one,
And Edge before him. Yeah, those were the last two I think that were like that.
Yeah, those are the two, I think, that because they were full time, going into his retirement.
Yeah, and they were abrupt.
Right?
They were abrupt.
So you didn't really have come to terms with it. Daniel Bryan just showed up one day and said, "I have to retire," right? And it was like
Edge was the same thing.
And Edge was the same thing. Yeah, right after a great WrestleMania match, he had to retire. So we've had time to come to terms with Undertaker retiring, because we've been thinking about it for years. And he retired a couple of years ago, and then he came back for like 3 or more matches after that. Right after he fought Roman Reigns,
he left his gear in the ring after, basically. That's usually a sign that you retire. That you retire, and then he didn't retire. But he's explained why.
Jane, did you want to add anything about?
Well, like I said, I being that I'm the old man of the group and everything, and I watched it when he first appeared.
Yeah, he debuted 2 months after I was born. So
yeah, like I said, both of you are the babies here, and so, like I said, I've come to terms to accept it. As I said, we've had years to. I knew it's going to come sooner or later, eventually, and I do, I do have some emotions with it, because, like I said, he was one of my favorite wrestlers. I always enjoyed the Undertaker. When he first showed up, I always loved the supernatural aspect of his character, and I always loved that his reinvention of the character every few years. One of the things that why it's endured for so long, and he's a poster boy of, he's taken the character and he's evolved it. He would evolve it into something more, because he would start originally, it was just basically was a zombie. He was basically a wrestling zombie. That's how the character was. He was basically a walking zombie. Take all the punishment in the world, would still take all the dish out, everything get dished to him. He just sit up and everything. And the only way to beat him was you hold him down for 3 seconds, he'll still sit up. So he was a zombie. Then what he did was, which was great, but it didn't lend to being, he can't do the talking. That's why he had the manager, but it limited him in how they could boost him up the card and everything, because he, like I said, as they portrayed him basically being almost unstoppable, it kind of limited him. So I love that he evolved the character into more, still, with the biker and everything, American Badass, the biker. Now he felt like, okay, now he's talking. Now he felt like, hey, he's a complete wrestler there. And then they kind of reinvented the Dead Man version and everything. And then from there, but he's still vulnerable. He still went down. But it felt better. So yeah, like I said, I'm glad that, and I love the tribute. I thought it was great. Uh, did I? Now I may have missed it. Mick Foley was not there.
He
McFoley
was
was
there.
there.
Yeah,
He
they
was
had
there.
it.
Okay, I knew I missed it. I knew
He was
there.
like Santa Foley.
Yeah,
It was Santa
it was
Foley,
like
okay,
you could
that's
tell that
right,
he
I
was.
missed
His
that
beard
part.
is like down to here and it's all white. He's
Yeah,
Santa.
he's getting ready
He's
for
Santa
his
Foley, yeah.
yearly Santa
Yeah,
dress
yeah,
up.
he's really Santa Claus. Yeah, it's December. It's gonna be. No, I must have. No, I
He
missed.
doesn't have to wear a
I-
fake beard
Yeah.
anymore. He can just dye it white.
Actually,
I was coming downstairs. I was upstairs when this was
Yeah.
happening, and
Yeah.
I got you.
I probably missed it.
It's funny you mention it because like as far as the actual segment goes, it was interesting to see the Bone Street crew coming out, and
Yeah.
for Michael Cole to acknowledge the BSK on commentary. That
Well,
was
he had
well,
to,
yeah, no,
though,
that
because
makes
he acknowledged
it made sense, but it was also surprising.
right.
It was weird, like just from the standpoint of like them not really addressing it on WWE
Well, it wasn't
programming.
really.
Right.
If by now everybody knows about the BSK.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I don't know.
internet and everything like that. Because it was essentially, if you go back, it was essentially like the Click and the BSK in that in the.
Well, I
in
mean,
that time, in the 90s.
I will just say this: like when The Godfather came out, I was immediately like, "Oh, okay, they're having BSK guys come out," and then they had both of
And
the
Savio-
Godwins come out. I was like,
They were BSK. And Savio Vega was
Mhm,
BSK.
mhm.
The only BSK not there was Yoko.
right? Which I think
Because
that
he
was like,
passed.
I think that was kind of the
Yeah, with
significance of
Undertaker's best friend,
Rikishi coming
basically.
out, as well as
Yeah.
I
like,
understand Yokozuna was a little busy tonight, so.
Yeah, I mean, if he did show up, then we would know it was the
All
apocalypse.
right, that's a really
no,
poor-
that's
Anyway,
okay.
in other words,
But
I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
it was a well done tribute.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought it was a great. I thought it was a great way for him to say goodbye to the character. Now we'll probably get one more when they do the Hall of Fame. I don't know if they're gonna do a live Hall of Fame this year, 2021, or they're gonna do. I don't know.
he'll get another chance in front of the fans. I'm not worried
So
about
yeah,
that.
he's not gonna be he won't be Undertaker there. He'll probably be Mark Curtis there because
Calloway, but
No, I know
I
what
think
you
he'll
mean,
still
yeah.
do the Undertaker thing. I think he'll still occasionally show up to arenas and just do the gong and come out and
Well,
entrance that.
well, the word is he wanted to maybe deal with as a teacher at the performance center.
Yeah, who knows?
He's gonna have some. He's gonna have some business.
Well, it's not like he's dead. And we're not going to see him
Right.
anymore.
No,
It's
he's
just
gonna
gonna
be more of an agent. I think he's gonna be more of an agent.
I
He would
think
be
a
great
lot of
guy.
this was about trying to quash the is Undertaker going to have another match or not questions. Like now we can say, no, he's not. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can say this. Like there's no more cinematic matches coming. There's no more regular matches coming. Like that's the whole point of this.
Right. That's
To say there's no more matches
He's not
coming.
doing cinematic matches anymore.
And the Undertaker, the guy behind the Undertaker, is giving himself more license to be
Yeah.
Mark Calloway as opposed
Yeah.
to the Undertaker, right?
And-
Because he opened up in podcasts recently.
Yeah, you ever see Hot Ones?
He goes, yeah, he did Hot Ones. He did the WWE the
Broken Skull.
documentary.
Yeah.
I'm losing my words here. So, but yeah, so we're probably going to see more license of him being not the Undertaker in the public sphere because he's always been so private about his.
Oh no, yeah, he was the last
Last
of the kayfabe, last of the great kayfabe wrestlers.
Yeah, like he drove kayfabe into the ground. Like
ground.
he never did interviews as Mark Calloway. Right, he did interviews with the Undertaker always. Which
turned down interviews.
Yeah, he turned down interviews
down
because he
movie
wanted to be the Undertaker because he's a dead man. He doesn't do interviews,
Yeah, he turned down movie roles. He turned down plenty of movie roles and everything because it would shatter the image of the Undertaker, and he had to turn it. He was turning it down. Last kayfabe wrestlers, even when kayfabe died, he was still kayfabe Undertaker.
Yeah.
So
all the.
So yeah, overall, I thought it was a great tribute. I thought they did a classy job with it. WWE got it right this time.
Yeah, that's
hard to
kind
say.
of my feeling, to be honest.
We don't usually say it.
Before we move on, does anyone in chat have any memories they want to share?
Yeah. I will touch on what Millennial Madman was saying.
If you do, go ahead and share.
I'll touch on what Millennial Madman said. Well, they were saying if he goes to NXT, that'd be cool to help develop characters. That's a very good point. Like he like because he even talked about it, I believe, in the previous Broken Skull session interview that he did, where like they presented him with this particular character, but it was basically on him to make it work. And so
Yeah.
like
I think
he
was
very
fantastic.
much made that work, and he made every step in the evolution along the way. So yeah.
Rob, did you want to share any memories about the Undertaker before we actually talk about the pay-per-view? Which I know you're dying to talk about the pay-per-view too.
Yeah, welcome on in, Rob. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Thanks for
just
hanging out.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think it would be interesting if like that's how, especially considering that like we've had Shawn Michaels helping as a coach in some capacity with NXT now.
Oh, Michaels has been.
Oh, he's been pretty involved. Like
Oh yeah,
he's kind of an
Yeah.
on-stage person. He's kind of an on-screen
well yeah,
authority.
that's what I'm saying. Like he's been helping a lot in
Yeah.
NXT, and I
Sort
think
of.
like it's
Yeah.
interesting to see that because of NXT slowly becoming less about the developmental and more about just being a third brand. But I think
Yeah, it's like a third brand, and then developmental happens under it
right,
now.
Yeah,
and so
it's
you
third
got
brand. Yeah,
Right,
developmental
we're
is a
not trying
side
we're not trying
business
to
now.
develop Kona Reeves on TV like we were, a couple of years ago.
right. We're actually trying to
I mean, Leon Ruff is
Well,
kind of being developed on TV,
Well,
but
what hurts the pandemic has hurt because they can't
that
do
too.
they can't do like they were doing the live shows. They can't do live shows anymore where they could do like the underneath guys, and they could do like live shows where they have the underneath guys there, the guys that not on television, but they can get them in front of a crowd at a live show and have them work and everything like that.
Oh
So
yeah, definitely.
that's
The
hurt. That's hurt
house
them
show
a
thing
lot.
is hurting.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even before that, they were still, at least on TV. There was less about the development and more
Right.
about the established stars. Anyway, Rob shared with us that his memory of the Undertaker's match with Shawn
Oh, yeah.
Michaels,
Yeah.
which we talked about on Thursday. I know I talked about it. It's like the WrestleMania matches.
Yeah,
were
the
Well,
WrestleMania matches, and even
Well,
like
the WrestleMania match. Well, there was the first
the very first Hell in a
they
Cell.
were the first Hell in a Cell. Yeah, the Hell in a Cell match
Yeah.
was with
Yeah.
Undertaker.
Which I think
It says that Undertaker
Yeah.
greatest rival for the Undertaker was Shawn Michaels, and I guess
I love Rob. Rob, that's
That's fair.
There is some.
I don't know. I think it's
I say Mankind.
yeah, I
I
would say
say
either
if you had to put
Mankind or
the
Kane,
greatest
but
rivalry-
Shawn Michaels is definitely up there. And especially if you want to maybe not focus too much on Kane and Mankind because of how obvious those answers are. Shawn Michaels is definitely up there because of like the various matches
I think
they
so.
had.
Well, I mean, Shawn Michaels definitely having the best matches with
Yeah.
him because
Well,
Kane
Shawn
doesn't have the
Michaels
right
is
style.
So and they
Kane versus
gelled
Undertaker
well
was more about the story.
Right.
Mankind versus Undertaker, it didn't really happen that much.
And that was also more about the story than the
reason
actual
why
match.
Mankind,
Yeah.
probably the reason why you could say Mankind was the greatest rival because Mankind was probably the only character that had one up on him.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
always
true.
see getting
Yeah.
the one up on him.
You know what? He had no chance against Muhammad Hassan. The USA Network had to step in and stop him.
Friggin' USA and the USA Network and UPN, I think, both stepped in on that one.
Yeah, had to
Because
step
they were on
in and stop
SmackDown.
Muhammad
Because they were on
Hassan.
SmackDown,
Yeah.
so that was a UPN thing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, no,
what it
it's
was.
okay. They were.
Right.
It was a network thing.
And then Millennial Madman shared with us he got into wrestling from the WrestleMania arcade game. Undertaker stood out, obviously. And he credits Undertaker with drawing him into wrestling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree with you. That arcade game, the WrestleMania arcade game, fantastic. And yeah, the matches with Brock and HBK, fantastic. Yeah, top 3 wrestlers.
Yeah. I do.
There's nothing wrong.
Yeah, and
with that.
I do agree with the Madman about the fact that after as much as it would have been nice to have a cinematic match versus the Fiend or any kind of match versus Sting, after seeing what Mark Calloway talked about in the Last Ride documentary, you can understand why like his match against AJ Styles felt like the right moment for him to be like, okay, this is it. Oh, okay, it's Kai's. Okay, thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Well, I didn't. I know a fair few.
I knew
I
it
and
was because I remember that name, but Alex didn't.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, but yeah, no, I definitely hear you about that. Like, because I was thinking about that. This was something that Undertaker even brought up in the Broken Skull session interview. It was the fact that like, that's why he couldn't retire after breaking the streak, because he couldn't even remember a chunk of the match because he was concussed.
Yeah, the concussion.
So he did not want his career to go out like that. So I could understand why he would want to keep pushing on.
Still shouldn't have. I'm still not happy about losing the
Yeah.
streak. That's the one thing that always should have kept enduring.
Yeah.
And it was his choice. I know it was his choice and everything, but still,
I'm fine with that. I mean, I wish it was
but the
someone
only
else
person
than
that
Brock,
could
but...
done it, Brock was the only one that could have done it because Brock doesn't give a crap.
Yeah, right.
He didn't care about it.
Yeah.
Fans, so.
Yeah, no one else would be willing to do it. Like, no, I'm not beating
no one
the
else.
streak.
Yeah, everybody else, because everybody else would have taken.
Brock comes in here taking
Brock's
his
like,
one paycheck for that particular match. Like, yeah, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
I'll beat up Undertaker, sure. Whatever. You want me to squash him?
Yeah, I mean,
you want me to hit him with how many F5s before?
Him and Undertaker were friends. They're really good.
Oh yeah,
friends.
no, I believe that.
They're boys. Yeah. They're boys. They're like tight. So, Brock. I know Brock gets a bad rap for things, but you can tell he's. When it comes to when you're his friend, he actually they say he's a really decent guy with that. So
Taker versus McMahon at Survivor Series. That was also a good one. That was.
So I do want to say, because we said this on Thursday, and I'll say it again. We could spend literally hours, days.
Yeah, we're already spending a half hour talking about this, which is fine. This is great.
Hour about it. No, that's fine. But
overall, so to wrap it up, just to wrap it up.
Go ahead,
final word. Great job by a great tribute. I thought it was a fitting tribute. I thought it was a fitting Undertaker month. It was great reliving all those past memories and everything. Seeing all those guys back again. And I thought it was well done. And you know, as I said, end of an era is fitting. It seems to close out that chapter. It's closed out the chapter of that WWE now. Because he was pretty much the last holdover of the 90s Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression, into where we are now. So I thought it was well done.
All right. Great. So let's...
the only other thing I wanted to add to it.
All right, go ahead.
The one thing that surprised me about it was how little they promoted it during the show. Because I thought for sure that was something they would have pushed throughout the show, but they didn't. But it's okay. Honestly, it's okay because the segment itself was great. So that's I just wanted to bring that up on air.
Okay.
But yeah, we're good there.
All right.
All right, we're done talking about that. So I do want to move us over to the Heckin' pay-per-view because that's what we're actually here talking about, right?
Yeah.
Survivor Series 2020, our reactions to it. As Stream Elements posts all of our stuff in chat, so please go ahead and click on those things. I do want to let's go run it down real quick. Let's try not to, we usually only do about an hour, so we have about a half hour left. Luckily, it's only 6 matches, so I'm gonna skip the pre-show. Nothing really happened notable except for the Gobbledygooper.
Well, the Gobbledygooper doesn't
briefly.
Doesn't age. Where does the Gobbledygooper live? He doesn't age.
I don't know.
Anyways,
okay. But he briefly won the title. Allegedly, it was Drew Gulak who was playing the Gobbledygooper. But
that's my theory.
We'll probably reveal that tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's fine.
Who cares? He won the 24/7 title briefly, and then Truth won it back. Boom. Done. Pre-show's done.
Well, actually, the ninja tricked him with birdseed.
That's right. Yeah, that was actually
whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. Anyways.
And then,
it was funny, but the pre-show's done.
Yeah, it was funny, but the pre-show's done. That's fine.
Then we had the ref ninja.
Yeah,
I didn't know we had a ref ninja.
I didn't know either.
Okay, let's start. Let's start. Raw versus SmackDown men's.
We opened the show with the men's Survivor Series match: Team Raw versus Team SmackDown versus not Team NXT, because for some reason, still sour about that. Sour, please, in the chats.
Sour grapes. I'm
gonna throw it here. But as we saw in kind of what really surprised me, and me, was Raw. Team Raw got a clean sweep, 5-0 against Team SmackDown, eliminating Seth Rollins first, which I didn't even see Seth Rollins' elimination. Turned away and then he was gone.
Oh yeah, he sacrificed himself for the greater good. Literally, he said he looked at it. This is for the greater. He looked at the team, goes, "This is for the greater good." And then Sheamus is waiting, and he gets on his knees, and he's just like, "Do it." And Sheamus is like, "Okay." Boop, boosh kick, and that's it.
Yeah, I didn't understand.
I know. It was, I turned away to do something, and then I come back, and Seth Rollins is just gone. I'm like, what the heck happened?
And then they brought up that
maybe, but anyway, Seth Rollins was gone, and then KO was gone. Then who else we lost? Oh, Corbin, and then Otis, and then finally, he kicked the. Yeah, I wish I saw him. I have to go check the replay now. And then
there is
had a moment for himself. Actually, I thought Otis had a moment for himself too when he cleaned house.
Otis looked good. I thought Otis was looking.
But Raw wins 5-0. What are you guys' thoughts of the match? Just of the match.
Overall, like I said, the Seth Rollins thing was straight. I know Seth is going to be taking some time off.
Oh yeah, this was his last match for a while. He's
yeah.
not...
So
maybe they can say that like.
But I thought
space.
Otis looked really good in here. Again, Otis came off really well out of this. He looked great. Going up against him and Keith Lee was fantastic. They looked two big hoss just banging. Him and Braun Strowman looked really good. And Otis is showing me something. Again, Otis is showing me that he's a guy that the people, I hope to get the live crowd back, because the crowd was responding to him before they left, and he's showing he can work in there, and he looked great. I thought he looked great in here.
Sheamus took money in the bank briefcase away from him because he was doing good.
Yeah.
Like when he cleaned house, he like suplexed a toss suplex Braun Strowman.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Braun had to assist him with it, but still,
yeah,
it
was still the visual of him getting lifted and everything. Yeah.
Lifting up Braun Strowman, and that's something still people don't know. Otis is a power lifter.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
I know from the NXT, because they had the while back they did Performance Center workout and everything. He had some of the records there. He had some of the records there,
right?
And at the Performance Center. So yeah, and I thought, like I said, he looked great. It told this match though, and it goes to what then probably why our prediction flipped the script. I thought SmackDown was going to end up winning tonight, but we'll get to that. But a clean sweep though, I didn't
understand it either. I think
unless they're trying to lead into the conflict of going into SmackDown. Now these guys are going to be fighting each other now.
But we just kind of erased the conflict in Raw because Braun and Sheamus hugged it out like in the ring at the end of the match.
Right.
I'll tell you, when it comes to these Survivor Series matches, the one thing I don't want to see is a clean sweep. Like, it's just not fun. Like, this is a Survivor Series elimination match. Let me see some eliminations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me see some back and forth. If 2 people win, if 3 people win, okay. At least something happened. Mm-hmm. But we're having a clean sweep. I don't get the point of it. It's not fun.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue that I had with the clean sweep was how much it screwed me over in the thing. But the thing, the gripe that I had with Team Raw getting a clean sweep the way that they did was like the fact that it completely deflated some of the stuff that they were setting up. Like the whole story leading into it was, okay, Team Raw's having a hard time getting along together, and like you pointed out, it's like that basically got resolved at the end of the match. It's like no, don't do that. They don't suddenly.
I mean, they'll ignore it tomorrow night, but it's still.
Yeah, I thought it would work better if we still had the conflicts. If we still had.
And like, it's even worse in the context of what happened in the other Survivor Series match.
Yeah.
2 matches that just were not fun.
Yeah.
I mean. And we'll get to the women's lines. It was fun for the most part, but like the results, like a 5-0 sweep is not fun, and what happened in that match is not.
And then
I say overall, we did.
We'll get to it in a second.
And so I mean, that aside, it kind of was what it was. I was annoyed by the clean sweep. It made sense for Team Raw to win. I kind of felt. But at the same time, the clean sweep again kind of undermined some of the.
Let's get some eliminations.
Yeah,
I will give. I like Kevin Owens. I like what Kevin Owens did with Matt Riddle, though. Matt's not wearing his shoes. Stomp on his feet. I like that. I like that.
I do want to highlight one more thing, though. Keith Lee finally has music again.
Yes.
Yes.
He's singing his own theme song again.
Thank God. Finally.
Oh my God! Like
I was
so desperately needed this.
I was so happy. I was like,
I was so happy. Like, I don't care if it's not the old theme. Like, he's singing his theme again. The chorus says literally bask in his glory.
Right. It wasn't. The issue was only partly the fact that it was new music. It's because of what the new music was before. That was where the actual issue lied.
Yeah, we know that.
Oh yeah, it was just generic rock and it just kind of made. But now it's better. Like he just.
It has personality. He has his personality again.
So anyways,
it matches
to his personality again.
Yeah.
And everything.
They should have fast-tracked that music months ago. If they were
God, yes.
Or just change it tonight and kept the other one. But either way, he finally has music. We can finally move forward with Keith Lee. We can stop, devaluing him. Okay, next match then. Next match for me was the match of the night. It was champion versus champion, the Intercontinental champion versus the U.S. champion, Bobby Lashley versus Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley to take the victory, as we all had predicted, and literally the entire world predicted. there's no way Sami was winning that match unless he won by like disqualification or something, which he tried very hard, and I appreciate.
I gotta say, Sami Zayn might be the best in-ring
He
heel
stepped up
going right now. In-ring heel. I mean, the guy just is brilliant as that squirmy chicken shit.
Oh my god, this was match of the night for Sami Zayn. Everything he tried to do to win this match. This is a guy who wants to win at any cost. Like, he tried to get Bobby disqualified a couple times. He tried to get him counted out a couple times. You know, he tried to roll up with the tights. Like,
he tried everything.
He wants to win matches so badly, and I love it.
Yeah.
And he will do. And that's the type of heel I like. That's the
type of character I like. I want characters who want to win
matches. He doesn't care about how he wins, as long as he wins, because he can gloat in your face when he does.
But even when he loses, he acts like it's the end of the world. Like, it's great, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
wins and losses mean something.
Wins and losses matter to Sami Zayn in a way they don't matter to a lot of people.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that match.
It's funny because the way that match went reminded me of a more blatantly heel version of what Daniel Bryan tried to do against Brock Lesnar 2 years ago. Because again, the coward, and this was even more blatantly heelish than that, because this was.
Well, he has to, because
this was Sami.
Daniel Bryan also threw everything.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, there was that's why I'm saying this was even more blatantly like cowardly heel than that, because this was him tripping up over MVP's feet near the end and trying to say that needed to be a disqualification. He tripped me. He tripped me. Disqualify Bobby because the MVP tripped me.
Well, the reason why it works so well, because Brock is a natural heel. I mean, anybody that goes up against Brock, especially Daniel Bryan, is, even if Daniel Bryan doing his Planet Champion of the Earth and everything, he's going to come off looking like a face. It doesn't, especially against a guy like Brock.
I mean, he was in the middle of that. He was at the beginning of that turn anyway. But yeah, this
was
Sami
Zayn. Match, Sami did it in a way that was so, it was just brilliant in it.
Like, I was rooting for him to get the disqualification win. Like, I was like, please, MVP, just hit him, please. I don't care about losing.
So overall,
like, hit him so he can trumpet around on Friday about how he beat Bobby Lashley.
he still might say he.
Oh yeah, he's gonna go on Friday night and say, I actually won the match.
Friday night and say, I should have won the match.
No, he's gonna say he actually won because Bobby should have gotten disqualified, and that's
that's how you go.
He should come up and shouting that.
I'm gonna love it, because I just want characters who care, you know.
Yeah,
exactly.
It worked. I thought it was great storytelling. It was fantastic. Even his pleading at the end when he lost, and he's pleading to Corey.
To Cole, like,
he cheated. Like, he cheated.
And Corey Graves being like, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm sorry. Corey's just like, I agree with you. I can't do nothing about it.
Even Cole was almost jumping to.
Cole was losing at the table. He couldn't believe what Sami was doing.
Like, what are you doing?
Man. I'll tell you, Sami is fantastic. I think right now he is one of the best in-ring working heels.
All right, so let's move from the best match of the night to, I guess, the weirdest match of the night: Asuka versus Sasha Banks. And it was weird.
Weird.
And so Sasha Banks, did come out on top with what did she do? She did the.
She did a front roll. It was kind of a roll.
It was like Oklahoma roll or something like that.
Reverse Oklahoma roll. Yeah, it's kind of front. She.
Yeah. But it just kind of ended abruptly, which threw me. Like, this is another thing where I looked away, and then all of a sudden Sasha Banks had won the match.
Well, they were trying to do the quick, like that finish.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, because they don't want to give Asuka a clean loss. I know.
Yeah. They were trying to. Lots lost, but it was like an inside crate or front crate.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this. Remember, WWE treats rolled ups as fluke wins.
Yeah. So that's
actual good wrestling moves like AEW does, which I can't help but to drop AEW here, even on a WWE show. No, I'm kidding.
So essentially, I thought it was I thought it was a great match. These two work well together and everything. And
Actually, would have benefited from a
but
stronger
I think
conclusion.
would have benefited from her actually getting a clean win on her. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect Asuka, saying that hey, it was it's back and forth. She was able to hold her down for that that 1 second and everything. The 3 seconds to hold her down, just for that 1 extra second to get the win, and to make Asuka look good, which was not bad. But I think it should have been more of maybe.
But in the
I
context of the entire night
say
too, we
though.
had how many conclusive wins? I guess
No. Again,
from this moment on, we stopped having conclusive wins.
Right.
Well, it falls back on your overall argument that the problem with the E is they don't do conclusive stuff. When they want to protect people, they do the fluky stuff, which is going to happen again later, which we'll talk about in the.
Well, it happens from here on, right? The
Yeah,
victory roll. Thank you. That's what it was.
Well,
Thank you, Kiz. It was victory roll is how she finished the match. But again, this is what they did from this match on: is they stopped because the first 3 matches there were conclusive victories, right? Now, not all the eliminations were kind of conclusive on the Raw versus SmackDown match, but it was good enough. Like Seth Rollins giving himself up, whatever.
Well, that
but
works in this
like
character.
the Street Profits did get a clean win. They did the blockbuster thing.
We'll talk. Well, we didn't talk about the Street Profits.
Oh, I skipped that match. We'll go back to it.
Yeah, that's my
We'll
bad.
go back to it.
That's actually my bad.
No, that's my bag. So that's the match that should have been talking about right now. But we'll talk about it next. So it actually happened before this. It's okay. But my point is from this moment on, they stopped doing like actual victories, right? Sasha Banks gets a re-roll, and then what happened in the next 2 matches too. But anyway, it's weird. But they've had a bunch of matches already this year.
Again, I thought they were gonna do like Bayley was gonna mess with her, but I should have known that they want to probably capitalize. Sasha is kind of.
I mean, I knew they always do these champion versus champion matches. Yeah. They never have a this champion's the better champion moment, right? They do that with the United States and the Intercontinental title, but every year with the women's title and the men's title, it's never. Exception of last year when NXT actually kind of swept those categories.
Well, then again, you could do it because NXT was, at the time you can get away with that because NXT got.
But either way, normally when they do women versus women, it's like this, right? It's just normally, and when the men do it, it's usually some sort of shenanigans that also tank the result.
But like I said, overall though, if judging other than that ending, I thought the match was great. I thought it was great interaction. Alex, you could jump in.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. I mean, I was ultimately I was happy with the result, but like
you were the one pick Sasha. And
I mean that kind of to your point, like this is kind of typical of what we see happen, where we do see like neither champion necessarily getting a decisive victory unless it's like lower tier on the title reigns or whatever. Like for example, Bobby versus Sami, that was a little more decisive, like all things considered. But like
Sami tapped out. Like there's just nothing. There's nothing more decisive than a tap out.
Well, that makes sense. It works with the
But I mean, the match itself.
No, and that's the way the match should have finished. Like that was the right way.
I think I don't know if I don't think we touched on this. I think the weirdest thing about this match was the fact that there was 0 Bayley interference. Like
that's the thing that got me.
Well, I mean, Bayley's not the one feuding with Sasha right now. It's Carmella.
Okay. That's
Bayley had her own.
True. Match. Bayley or Carmella would have been good to have.
Yeah, you're right. I was expecting to see Carmella. I was expecting to see Reckoning maybe.
Yeah,
something that would have involved anything, but like this match was honestly,
so. In retrospect, I'm glad they didn't because they did it with the main event.
Right.
They had.
Right. That's true. So. I guess it was just a weird finish for a not overbooked ending, if that makes sense. Like it.
Well, no, that's fine.
That was the only thing about it.
We looked away, and Sasha was suddenly pinning her for 3, and it was over.
It's just, I think the only I kind of feel like the match was just an okay match aside from that's the thing. It was just an okay match. The finish wasn't terrible.
It was a Raw match. Like,
it was fine, and it's a little annoying considering that it was not only a pay-per-view but a big 4 pay-per-view. So
here's the thing too. There's no real build to it. I mean, again,
but the main event had a good match. There was no.
The main event had a build to it.
I guess you're right.
It had a little more of a build at least. Yeah, that's true.
That's fair.
This
All
was
right.
no build.
So let's go back a little bit. The match that happened before this, I skipped over haphazardly, was the tag team championship versus tag team championship match. The Raw tag team champions, the Street Profits versus the Oh wait, no, it was actually the SmackDown Street Profits because they switched the titles a couple months ago. Remember when they did
this
that?
whole thing is
So the Raw
that
tag
whole
team
thing
champions.
is.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
I know.
Relax. It's the Raw tag team champions, the New Day versus the SmackDown tag team champions,
New
the
Day
Street Profits.
in their Gears 5 outfit. Gears of Wars 5 outfit.
So this was more indicative, I think, of what the rest of the title versus title matches should have been. And Bobby versus Sam was good because we had a competitive match back and forth, and we had a clean finish, right?
Yeah.
The Street Profits got
This
the
was the same
blockbuster thing, pinned the New Day, boom, they shook hands at the end. Like that's how these matches should go.
Yeah. And like I said, again, these are two teams who are great
right,
at what.
This is the best tag team of all time versus the future, right?
Future, yeah, basically, yeah.
Because Ford is like in his mid-20s. You know?
Oh yeah, Ford is just.
I don't
like
know what
20s.
Dawkins is, but I know Montez.
Dawkins is in late 20s too. Dawkins is about his late 20s. Ford is in his early 20s. These guys are basically these two guys, Street Profits. If they stay together, will probably be in the next few years the dominant tag team if they keep the course and everything there.
You know.
And which makes sense to how the match ended because the New Day had, basically the New Day has been the top tag team for the last 5 years now.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
Right.
Pretty much. And the Street Profits, like I said, it was a great match. I thought these are two teams that are pretty much, they work well together. I thought they were good. The opening promo, New Day comes out in their Gears of War 5 gear because they're in the Gears of War 5 game, New Day bundle. And then the Street Profits comes up and they give their opening promo, which I thought was real well done. They praise, they do what you just do in the promo. They praise who the New Day are and everything. They give their history of who the New Day is. They say, hey, we acknowledge that you're great, but we're going to win tonight because we're going to be better. Like, bam!
Yeah, it was a strong promo for sure. I definitely.
And then even New Day's dancing into their music. Like I said, these are two teams that have, you can see the mutual respect, but then that's thrown out the window once the match happens. We have a clean victory. They shake hands. Hey, you beat us. You got one up on this today. You're the better team today. Shake hands. Boom, boom. That's how you're supposed to be. That's how
without me, Alex.
Champion's supposed to be.
Yeah. All right, one second. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I do want to give a little bit of an apology. I realized just now that I completely goofed on that on my end a little bit because on the match order, because that was actually the match that happened after the opening match. So So anyways, but yeah, no, that was and to what Chris's point earlier, like that, this was a good, solid, strong pay-per-view match. Cool. This was a good, strong match that was pay-per-view quality and had a good, clean finish. And like you guys said, the mutual respect there. So this was a great match.
Yeah, this is the pay-per-view.
This was basically what the women's champion versus champion match was kind of not in terms of like strong quality.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to I don't know why the if you're gonna do this, do the build for it. They weren't doing the build for it. If you're gonna do it, the best.
Second
I mean, see,
they just been treading water with Asuka for the last couple months anyway because the focus has been on Nia and Shayna.
Yeah.
And Lana.
You could have done the build. This is when you do the crossover. This is when you do Asuka showing up on SmackDown to taunt the champion or because they did that with New Day.
Well, I mean, it seemed like they were trying to avoid doing the Raw invades SmackDown, SmackDown invades Raw.
Yeah, they tried to do something different this year, which was actually good. I thought.
Well, the reason why is Fox and USA Network, and I understand that and everything.
Yeah,
no, it was just to try to not do the thing they always do, which it ended up hurting the women's match. You're right. No, I mean they should have done something they didn't. Anyway, now that I've sat back down, let's go on to the next match. It was the penultimate match. It was the women's Survivor Series match, 5-on-5, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. And your winner was Team Raw with your sole survivor being Lana.
Now,
And oh my God, this match was good and then a train wreck of a finish.
Yeah, I mean, I like that Lana's just like, I don't trust you. I don't want to be out there. You just I'm taking tables every
Well, they also
day.
no, they
out there.
specifically
They
Nia and Shayna specifically told her that they would not tag her in because they've been basically bullying her this past month or so. So that was kind of
2 months.
Yeah.
It's 9. They showed like 10 times she went to
Right.
the table.
So this whole thing has been about the whole match was about her not being allowed to be involved in the match at all. Because
this is what I want to convey with this match.
What Lana needs, though, I mean, if they want to do this, they need to have someone come and back her.
She needs to stand up for herself and be successful is what needs to happen. I mean, here let me kind of convey my feeling in this match. I actually thought like it was a good match. Like it started well. You know, it was back and forth. Like we even had
we had Peyton, like you said, Peyton Royce
defeating Bayley clean. The longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion. Like, are we doing something with Peyton Royce? And then she got beat by Natalya, and Natalya got beat. And then we had this great like the Riot Squad taking on Nia Jackson, like almost beating her. Like that was a great moment. Like I was thinking, like, oh my gosh, are they gonna beat Nia right here? And then again, after Ruby Riott got eliminated, Liv once again like ramped up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is she gonna beat Nia right here?
Yeah.
And then here we go, Bianca Belair, the last one left. Is she gonna go ahead and run the gauntlet here?
And she almost did.
And then there was this subtext where they went wrong, and that was with Lana. So Lana did get in the match early on. She tagged herself in on Nia, beat up. I don't remember who she was for a little bit, and then she got beat up, and then she got tagged out, and then they told her to stand on the steps away from the turnbuckle.
I think I missed that.
Stay there the rest of the match, and she stood there the rest of the match. So she looks like the biggest. I guess cow.
No, I mean, I can understand. I don't have a problem with that because I can understand her being kind of intimidated. She's gone through a table 10 times.
She's been intimidated, but I mean,
and she feels bad, and she's like, okay.
Here's what I want to convey here, and I told you two of you, this is the whole point of this. The whole point of Lana going to the table and Lana being bullied is to get her over as a babyface. They missed their chance here because tonight was the night to have Lana get some revenge.
Yeah,
she could have cost Nia the match. She could have
came in and cost them the match. Yeah, she should have been.
Which would have been great. Like we would be cheering for. Like that's what I wanted in my head the entire time. Like Lana, just go get a chair. Lana, just go get a chair. Lana, Nia Jax's on the top turnbuckle right in front of you. Just push her off. You know,
right? Literally do anything except for what you did.
Literally do anything. And then she just stood there in the steel steps. And then when she wins the match, she gets in the ring and celebrates like an asshole. Like we know as the fans that she didn't do anything. Why is she celebrating?
That's the
if she had gotten in there and just laughed at Nia, perfect. Like
right. Like
that was fun.
If she didn't even have to get in the ring. She could have been on. She could have been on steps just like that.
No, but I mean, celebrating like she won the match was like the absolute worst thing she could have done. Like that's I don't feel any sympathy for her anymore. Like now I know she's just a bitch.
And the problem I have with this
gendered language, and I apologize.
No, you're right.
Now I know that
the ending.
Right.
Here's why I think that it didn't make sense to me. So they suddenly, Bianca,
she's nothing. Like
no. What I'm saying is Bianca Belair gets Shayna Baszler, gets her pin, gets her out of there, and then suddenly Nia pulls her out. They start fighting out there, and the ref starts counting.
Well, yeah, because it's a standard.
No, there's supposed to be a period. The ref's supposed to give a brief period so everybody can reset.
Well, no, the ref did reset the count. They just stayed outside the entire time.
That's how long they were fighting outside.
Because Nia reset the count once, and then they went back up to the ring.
I must have missed that part then.
Yeah, you missed that part. Because when they were on the announce table, Nia broke the count at 8.
Back and all I see is
back out.
The end I see is Bianca suddenly realizing, and she jumps and she misses it by a second. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell just happened?
Right. I mean, they restarted the count, so it's not like it was nothing. Right. But then they kept fighting the outside.
I do want to jump in on this a little bit because so here's the thing about that post-match celebration thing. This is me both agreeing and like clarifying something. To Chris's point, if the celebration had purely been like if the celebration had been more clearly the fact that she got that kind of weird revenge on Nia because Nia had specifically told her not to get involved, and like I think there was even a moment where like you don't get involved and we're gonna win this or whatever, and so that's ended up what happened. That ended up being what happened. So if the celebration was purely this is the thing, if the celebration was purely okay, I got one over on Nia because she didn't win us this
That's what it should
match.
have been.
But the idea that she might have just been celebrating like she won, that's the problem as far as like her being a baby face.
But no, she did. She said, "I'm the survivor. I'm the sole survivor. Me, me, me." That's what she did in the ring.
It's about
that's not a baby face.
It's about her attitude more than what she actually like.
It's her attitude. I want to see her go through a table now because I don't care anymore.
Here's what they need to establish that. They need to come tomorrow on Raw. She needs to come to say them backstage or come out. I don't know why they're going to do it, but she needs to say, "I followed what you said. You told me not to come in. I did it. I won because of that." So
I will.
Right. I mean, that's what they're probably going to do, but the way she acted was wrong for the character they're trying to present. And
that's them not understanding.
They're not understanding how to get
what they're building. I mean, I understand where they're going. What they were doing with this. They're trying to build her as a sympathetic babyface.
Yeah, that's and I understand. I don't agree with it, but I understand what they're trying to do. But she just lost all her sympathy.
She's getting trashed. So they're trying to build her as a sympathetic babyface.
Yeah,
that's fine.
So I think
But here's the question here, and this is what I'm kind of getting at.
I agree.
Lana in the ring yelling, "I'm the sole survivor." Yes, me, me, me. Does that make you feel sympathy?
Not at that moment. No.
Wrong. I don't know who thought that up. That should have been her.
But let me ask you this: if she had actively cost Nia and Shayna the match, would you feel sympathy for her?
Then that would have been a
I don't know.
I don't know if you would feel sympathy for her, but would you cheer for her? Right?
Possibly.
If she had pushed
probably
Nia
more
off,
so than what happened.
Right? You would have popped for that.
Yeah.
I would have cheered for her.
If she had gotten in Nia's face and laughed at her after the match.
Yeah.
Would you have cheered?
Oh yeah.
For that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're better at this than WWE writers.
No, see that's my point. Like the only thing I want to add about it before we move on to the main event, the one thing I want to add about it is that there is that thing. So yeah, it kind of undermines it in the moment, but there is a way for them to kind of pivot from there.
I salvage it, but for me, the moment's lost.
That's fair. That's just kind of like my. Like I get what you're saying. I'm just saying like I can kind of see where they'll have to pivot now in order to salvage that.
Right. I mean, we know where this is ending up. This is going to end up with a tables match at TLC, which is next month.
Yeah.
And then we've known this for months, which is fine. Like it's okay that we know where the story is going.
I'm hoping
now because we know where the story is going, you need to give us the moments that are appropriate to the story. And this was not the moment that was appropriate to the story, and that's where I kind of want to leave it here.
Okay. Before we move on, I do want to just to add to what you're saying. I'm sorry, I was just thinking about that because you know how they like to do, the video packages where they'll show the moments, but sometimes like they'll often cut out stuff that maybe doesn't fit in with the rest of it. So what's gonna happen here is on the video package for their inevitable tables match, they'll show the moment that Lana won, but they probably won't show her celebrating the way she did tonight.
No. Right. They're gonna gloss over that. I know it's gonna like I said, the final word here is they had a moment and they messed it up. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It should have been. It was a missed opportunity.
So we all agree there. That's for sure.
Because we know the story is going, but they just missed an opportunity to hit the story beat in a logical way. Anyway, main event time. So we go to the main event of the evening. It is the Universal Champion, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, versus WWE Champion, the Scottish Psychopath, Drew McIntyre. It was a hard hitting match. I'm not sure if it was like quality pay per view, like what it could have been.
I liked it. I will admit I liked it because I liked
it. I
thought this was one of the few matches that had a proper build to it.
Right.
You had these two guys talking about. You had the contract signing. You had Drew going like, "Please underestimate me." You know, you all just smug in your seat and everything. Underestimate me. I like that. Right. And these are two hard hitting guys that looked like they were just trying to beat the crap out of each other. I thought it was well done.
The thing that happened here is the thing that kind of happens in WWE a lot, where we know they're going to have multiple matches. It just didn't live up to what it could have been. But here's what did happen, in the match. Finish of the match came when Drew McIntyre claymored Roman Reigns into the referee and knocked the referee out, which I thought, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done it before.
Good
Actually,
use-
before that, the
I think
most
it's a
creative
good
thing
use
I've ever
of a
seen,
ref.
I wanted to highlight, was the way that Drew countered one of the spears, where he did
roll.
a diving roll.
Yeah,
to
he
counter
rolled
the
with
spear
it. He
into
rolled with
Kimura.
the spear,
And
wrapped
I
his
thought,
legs around, hooked the
man,
arm,
that
and
was
turned it
great.
into like a Kimura.
That was
Well
great.
done.
Yeah, that was great moment. Never seen that counter before. Usually they jump
Yeah.
out of the way, something like that. But he just like rolled through the spear, so that was cool. Finished the match. Referees down. Roman Reigns low blows Jew, and then Jey Uso runs down and kicks him in the face. And then a new referee comes down, the guillotine lock, and Drew passes out. So, which is fine. Like I like the use of passing out when they're afraid to you know.
Yeah,
Give
because
something
Drew has an out.
Drew never gives up. He passed out, right? Which is fine.
And he has an out because he can.
And you saw how we did that AEW with Eddie Kingston to good effect. So that's fine. Like that's a fine finish.
Yeah, Drew has an out because he can say, "Hey, you know what? It wasn't for Jey. Jey, I had you. Jey, you had to have your Jey Uso.
Drew has an out. I didn't give up. You had to choke me out.
You had to have choke me out. And you had to have a friend. And the only reason you got that move was because you had your boy
right.
out distracted.
That's fine. I mean, it's not as definitive as it could have been. Like if
fine with it.
Jey didn't get involved, like
because it advances. Because here's the thing, the Uso thing advances his interaction with.
Yeah, I mean
Roman.
that was more about him. It was
story.
about him and Roman Reigns. It wasn't about him and Drew, and it wasn't about Drew and Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Anyway, the other thing I want to say about the match is the thing that didn't happen, and the thing that I'm very upset didn't happen, and the thing that I think makes no sense is why it didn't happen. Drew McIntyre was passed out in the middle of the ring, his shoulders on the mat, just absolutely unconscious. The Miz should have run down and cashed in Money in the Bank. There is literally no perfecter is a word tonight, for him to do so. It makes, and the way he's been talking about it and doing it, and the fact that he's done it before, it makes absolutely no sense in that perfect moment. Like,
They
what
should
was
have
he
had.
doing? Like,
no, yeah, news what should have had, and they could have had him come out.
I was so mad. Like, I'm sitting here on my couch thinking, come on, Miz, come on, Miz. Where is the Miz?
Here's what they should have did, and they should have had Miz tease.
I was like, Roman, get out of the ring so the Miz can go
cut
and Drew.
backstage. They cut backstage. I would have done this. They cut backstage. Miz is like, he's looking at the monitor. He sees it, and he picks it up. He's about to head out there. Otis sidelines, bam, from behind. And then
just something to explain
like
why
that.
he didn't do it. Like, if you got attacked earlier in the night,
or
whatever, fine.
Dominic.
But the fact that he's sitting back there and Drew is literally unconscious in the ring and he doesn't come out and win the title is beyond me, right? It just.
I would have, would that my thing would have been either could have been Otis or Dominic. Could have been you could have cut backstage real fast. Miz sees that and Miz realizes he's out. Miz grabs his briefcase, goes, "I'm about to go." Dominic, bam, knocks him. Like bumps.
It doesn't really matter. What they ended up doing was nothing, and that was the problem.
Right.
And why that would have been the logical thing to explain why he didn't come out. Because you're right. That's the perfect time right now to come out and attack.
Is there a more perfect time when the champion's literally unconscious in the ring? Like you just run into the ring and pin him, and that's over. Right?
But
You're the champion.
It goes back to
even if he's not like completely knocked out. He just had a grueling, good 30-minute match.
with
right, the Miz could have just done.
He is hurt.
He did what he did against Orton, which was he comes in, Orton stands up, skull crushing finale, 3 count.
Okay, so here's the thing. For one, we're making the assumption that WWE likes to actually have logic in their booking, and
I want logic in our booking.
It's not. It's I mean, there's logic and then there's logic. I mean, this.
But
there's no.
Okay, hold on. Here's the other thing. You got to remember that they talked about it like at least twice throughout the night.
Right.
And when WWE talks about that happening, they never do it because they want you to forget about it.
Right, but I mean, that's poor storytelling.
That's poor storytelling. That's just.
I know.
Just poor.
I know. Hey, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's
what. All right. So I don't want to make this about the Miz.
No, Chris. I heard this though. WWE is looking for a head writer. We need you to apply. They are looking for a head writer.
I actually have applied before. I'm gonna do it again though.
Do it again.
Well.
I'll show my booking videos.
Hey,
I
heard they look.
don't.
Continue.
Sometimes it's basic storytelling. And
it's basic storytelling.
So okay, so with that, with the main event wrapped up, before we wrap everything up for the night, there are a couple things I want to talk about to address. We were talking a little bit about the whole brand supremacy thing. So here's the thing: if you only take into account the matches that happen on the night or on the main show, it ends up being a 3-3 tie. If you count the pre-show, Raw wins 4-3.
Pre-show
But the
doesn't
thing
count.
is, the pre-show didn't count before, so it shouldn't count now.
So precedences doesn't
Well, are
count.
you right? But no, it should be.
No, I
I
just checked the quick results real quick. Yeah, no, it's 3-3 unless you count the pre-show.
It's a tie.
But here's the thing. And this is kind of what I want to wrap up before we do our final grades and we address the predictions and everything. We talked about this a little bit on Thursday in our predictions and like the build to this. They were focusing a little bit more on the stories within the brands going into this. They did not focus. Yeah, they did not focus on Raw invades SmackDown and vice versa. So because of that, I don't think the actual brand supremacy was being pushed as heavily. So that's why you have situations like Lana being the sole survivor to win Raw, which kind of helped towards the tie,
right,
because that was
towards her story with Shayna.
That's more
and Nia.
focused on the Lana story. You have Team Raw doing the clean sweep, which sucked, but it kind of plays into their story. You have Roman Reigns winning in part because of Jey Uso interference, which plays into a little bit into the story of Jey Uso trying to like earn, the family connection between Jey and Roman right now.
Right,
and everything going.
They did a nice job at advancing the storylines on their shows, which I think was the right thing to do.
Yeah. So this was not purely.
When we're talking about the issues with the way Lana won and the way then the Miz not cashing in, like those are consistency issues and storytelling issues,
right.
but they don't detract from what was accomplished. So
no, right.
We are a pretty positive show. Like we love wrestling. That's why we do this. That's why we do this show. And as we get to the grades, let's go ahead and grade the show. I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed most of the show.
Yeah.
It's these couple of moments that, and of course, because they stand out so much in our minds, it's just a lot easier for us to kind of be like, But I like the show. I'm gonna give it a solid B-. I'll grade first tonight, just because I'm already talking about it.
Yeah.
I think it could have been better in spots in terms of, the women's championship match being more like a pay-per-view match instead of a Raw match. Because that's what that was. That was a match they could have had on Raw. The storytelling beats with Lana, the lack of the cash-in, where I think it would have made sense. Just and kind of the 5-0 boring Survivor Series thing. It definitely could have been a better show, but it by no means is a bad show. I know, Rob, if you're in there, you said this is the worst pay-per-view of the year. No, I think that was last pay-per-view. I think this is better than the last pay-per-view they did. And we still have one more to go. TLC coming up probably in like 2 weeks, right?
I didn't even see it, so
it's either 2 or 3 weeks.
We have Takeover in a couple weeks, and then in like 3 or 4 we have TLC.
Yeah. So B- for me. It wasn't great
because they need to maybe 3 to 4 weeks because their lease up in the Amway Center is up.
Yeah.
And so it's up as of the 25th, and they need to be out by December 5th.
Right, but they do TSC early December because they don't want it to run into Christmas.
Well,
so
like
anyway,
I said,
B- for me. Decent show, could have been better, but it wasn't that bad. Alex?
I'm going with similar logic as you. However, my grading's a little bit more lenient. I didn't have as much of an issue with some of the things that did happen that were a little detracting. So I'm going with a solid B on that.
Okay. James?
I'm with Alex. I think it was a solid B. I thought, like I said, I enjoyed that the opening match was. I didn't like the clean sweep, but it was fine with that. I did enjoy
fun moments in that match.
Yeah, there's some
fun
moments.
Exactly.
It was all these matches had some decent moments in it. I liked the main event. I thought there had a build to it. I enjoyed it. And I want to say it again. I enjoyed the gobbledygooper, the ninja with the bird seed, and then I didn't know there was a ninja
apparently
ref.
TLC's on December 20th. That's really late this year.
Yeah, I said
wow.
because of their moving. Like I said, because they're
Oh
moving.
yeah, that's right. By
they're
like the
moving
11th or
from.
whatever the. Well, I
Yeah,
think by the 11th of
11th
Oh
December
yeah,
they're
they're
out
moving
of.
to the Tropicana Field. for the
Tropicana
winter.
Field. So
There's no baseball.
they're gonna have that one period. There's gonna be a transition period where they're probably gonna do it from the Capitol Center, Raw and SmackDown from the Capitol Center at least 1 week before they get
Probably.
into Tropicana Field. So that's why they pushed it back then before Christmas. But overall, a solid. I thought the show was solid. I think a solid B. They had some story advancements. There is some things that I didn't like. But I think the pros outweighed most of the cons, and it was a decent show. And then what probably gives it it's as we talked about, it's the Undertaker farewell. I thought that was well done too. So overall, B.